So we just finished the Bridge Presidents and Elects session at the one event for the President's meeting of South Asia, APAC, China and North Asia. And it's been a great session. So I just wanted to cover off, before I forget everything, what we covered. We covered 6 elements in the 3 hours, and we finished on about 4 minutes late after starting 10 minutes early. So we were able to get through a lot of stuff because these are presidents that are serving often their second or third presidency. So they all just got into the process. Breaking the ice was really great and really important because everyone in the room was a top performer. The why was really helpful in terms of getting everyone's head into the space of why they're doing this. So then we did the annual objectives piece, which I'll dive into in a minute. We didn't do the reflection vision piece. We gave that away as homework to remind the presidents and the elects about the interaction that they need to be having with the president as the reflecting pool and the incoming president being the new visionary and the relationship there. And we gave them some tips and guides about how to communicate with each other at a strategic level moving forward. Then we did a brainstorm of all of the key elements of chapter operations to sketch out what the best practices seem to be between all of the chapters and what are the local refinements. So we had some really good progress there. And then we did some operational cadence work to actually figure out what happens in a 4-month cycle for a chapter that's doing 3 major events a year. So I'll take you through the annual objectives, chapter operations and operational cadence outputs. But before I do that, we also had John Harrington come in and he shared with us sort of some key takeaways. He stayed for most of the session, that the opportunities for the longer term, the strategic opportunities are to figure out the identity of Bridge as a product and to create a set of standards for Bridge, names, processes and structures. And finally, to figure out how this product is placed within the overall EO ecosystem, which really resonated for a lot of the members. And I was so grateful to have him in the room. So the first major exercise we did was after we did sort of the sharing and the get to know yous, as well as the briefing on what to do with your elect or with your president moving forward, is we had a look at the annual objectives, and we just went straight in and people focused immediately in, and we got everyone to essentially write the big 3 things that were working within the chapter, the 3 biggest things that needed to change before the end of the year because they were not working, and the 3 big priorities that need to be done before the handover from president to elect. And then each person shared their number 1 takeaway from that. But we didn't try and solve anything. We just brainstormed and got our heads in the operational space. From there, we spent some time with each individual brainstorming out for these major areas of a Bridge chapter. So board, dues, events, growth, forums, comms and engagement. The things that they thought were the most important elements to consider. And I'll just cover the major elements here where we saw significant overlap between multiple chapters. So most of these things weren't mentioned by multiple chapters, but the things that were, every single chapter agreed that dues need to be collected in full at the start of the year. That the idea of user pays does not work operationally for this model. That the dues need to be set for the whole year. You pay your annual due, and that's that. That was the highest best practice agreement that we got. Every single chapter agreed on that. We also had agreement in the events area in that the events need to have exactly the same structure every single time to be operationally sound, and that the way that we make the events different is by putting them in a different place and focusing in on the once in a lifetime being different at every event, but the structure needs to stay the same. There was significant agreement there between the chapters. There was also significant agreement between the chapters in that the preference was generally to stay with experienced members coming in and to really focus on building out, at least in the first instance, with experienced members. So looking more for tenure members as the foundation of the chapter. And then if we have at-large members, putting them off into separate forums because their needs are totally different. And there's also significant agreement that one of the most important legacy pieces that the bridge offers to EO at large that's not evident on the face of it is that when we place a bridge event in a location where a chapter either needs to launch or relaunch or reinvigorate, that the presence, our global presence in that chapter can make a massive difference to that chapter. So a priority for us to not just go to fancy locations, but to also remember to bring our global membership into these launching or relaunching chapters to reinvigorate them. The other area where we saw significant agreement was in comms, was that we need to get our comms cycle much more of a consistent operational communication cycle rather than trying to do great marketing and wow everyone, just to be consistent in our communications. So that was the second piece that we did. That was just looking at the overall chapter operations and just brainstorming out. And the third major exercise that we did was more of a affinity mapping process where we worked together to actually draw out the operational cadence of a bridge chapter. So we've got this circle here, which basically says this is what we need to do every 4 months. So bridge chapters are very different from normal chapters in that we just, the base of what we do, the thing that we do that happens nowhere else in EO is 3 times a year, we offer this event that's not like any other event. You can get things in that event that you can't get from any other EO product. And so we've essentially mapped the cycle essentially from the end of one event right through to the whole of the next event and then back to the end of that next event. So that circle that you see is the operational cadence. It's just a sketch, but it's the best attempt that I've seen. And it was a collaboration between multiple chapters. And up the top are kind of like little, like short checklists of that, the 4-month cycle that might be a different layout or a different way to consider that same operational cadence. So that was the 3 major exercises that we did. But the most probably important outcome at the end was where do we go from here? And so the 3 big pieces are here, but also there was this idea that we can really become like a platinum product for tenure members if we cooperate and simplify as presidents of these chapters. And the outcomes in terms of what we're going to do from here is that I was able to get agreement between the presidents in the room that we're actually going to hold a bridge event that involves at least our 3 chapters, and we're going to invite all of the other bridge chapters globally. From the 17th to the 19th of February 2024 in Bali. So then the presidents within this greater area here, the 5 regions, have, I guess, a focus that we can all work together on as a team to give us a reason to meet together as presidents. We're also going to create a WhatsApp channel and a Google Doc where we share ideas, and we're going to have a quarterly call, and it's my accountability to get that launch call done in about 13 weeks from now. So rather than meeting monthly, to meet quarterly as a board to collaborate around the Bali event and also to make our operational cadence as well as our identity stronger as we go. So I really just want to say thank you for making this happen. This is just wonderful to be able to bring presidents together at a bridge level. We only had really, once we got started, 2 hours and 30 minutes together. And in 2 hours and 30 minutes, I feel like we've moved the needle more in terms of making Bridge a better product for all of our members globally than I've done in the last 3 years of running around with this. So thank you so much for making the effort to get us all together and giving us the time to do this. I really appreciate it.